On it being flat, and it's pretty much across the board, the response you see from people, except for the real diehard, Obama lovers out there. Congressman Schock, as I ask you this question, is there anything here that you see that is going to help create jobs in the country?
Well, Sean, we already know the answer to your question, because this is really a mini stimulus bill. It's really stimulus 2.0. It spends a third of the original stimulus bill that he passed. But look at what's in it. Look at the details. Over half of the $300 billion that he wants to spend is to continue two policies: unemployment benefits for 99 weeks, nearly 2 years, and a continuation of the payroll tax holiday. These are two policies that are currently in effect. The question that begs is, what's new? What's different? And after the August recess and the Labor Day holiday, the president said he was going to bring forward this jobs agenda to help put Americans back to work. And like you said, last night, it fell flat.
Yeah, it did fall flat. All right, Congressman Kinzinger, simple question. He kept saying, he repeated that this is going to be paid for. And then in this little detail that he left out, he's going to dump it on the so-called super committee so that they can make more cuts, which, by the way, if in fact they cannot come to a consensus, means we're going to gut our Defense Department at a time where we see instability all over the world. Is that a good idea? And do you think ultimately they come up with the numbers to pay for this?
Oh, it's a terrible idea. I mean, what we've done basically, or what the president's proposed, is front-loading spending for a promise of spending cuts to come. And I mean, I've heard so many people on the other side of the aisle say, we can never cut $1.5 trillion. So what they're going to do is come in and say, well, to reach 1.8, we're going to have tax increases, or they're going to go after defense even more, or, anything like that. This is like, what is this, the 10th or 20th white horse that Washington, D.C. has ridden in on. And I think the American people and the people of Illinois, where we both represent, are saying, get Washington out of our way. Now, there's some things we can agree with. We want a lower corporate tax rate. We want the free trade agreements to pass. But the whole plan as a whole, it's just more of what we've seen from Obama in the past.
Congressman Schock, as I listened to the president last night, here's what I took out of this. First of all, he has not laid out a specific plan. In other words, where we can go online, read the legislation, get the devil in the details, and come to our own conclusions. But here's what I took out of this. This is basically his campaign speech. He's going to say, I offered this, I offered that, I wanted to fix the economy, and those wascally Republicans, they got in the way, and those Republicans are obstructionists. And that seemed to be the theme over and over again. These are common sense, bipartisan proposals by Republicans and Democrats, and you should pass it now. Are they bipartisan proposals? Is there a lot in there that you say, wait a minute, I agree with you on that?
Well, thankfully, despite the fact for him calling on us to pass the bill 100 times last night, pass my bill, pass the bill, thankfully, in a Republican House this year, we're going to get to read the bill, which I think is equally important, not only for congressmen and women, but also our constituents to get to read the bill. But based on what he's laid out, Sean, you're right. He hasn't laid out a specific proposal to get us out of the rut we're in. Look, there's a radically different view of the world. One where the president believes we can continue to borrow money from China, continue to spend more government money, hire more government workers to grow the economy, which for the last 2 years has not worked, or what the Republicans have done, not just talked about, but passed legislation this year in the House to get the federal government out of the way of the private sector, to make America the favored place to invest and hire someone, because ultimately it's the entrepreneurs in America that are ultimately going to lead us to a recovery and lower unemployment, and it's the federal government that's impeding that, and that's just what he doesn't get.
Two themes emerge, Congressman Kinzinger, that also are interesting to me. Played up to class warfare, very predictable.
All right.
Coming into the speech, we had a series of attacks, by his allies, his supporters. Republicans, Tea Party members can go straight to hell. They're sons of bitches. They're terrorists. The barbarians at the gate. They want to see black Americans hanging from trees. All of this is said, and the president, who lectures us a lot on civility, was quite silent last night. Was that striking to you?
That was very striking to me. I mean, look, he talked about this bipartisan need to work together, and we agree. We want to find areas of commonality that we can work together to get the American people back to work, understanding that the federal government doesn't create jobs, by the way. We can only create that environment. But when I saw that speech where we were called, SOBs, where they stood up and said, we got to take these guys out, and the president went up and spoke after that and didn't renounce it, that to me was getting off on the wrong foot. That is a partisan foot. Tonight, what I saw too is the president saying, "Pass this bill." Last night, he said that, and he had a standing ovation before he even began to outline what was in the bill.
Yeah. One of the reasons that I know, Congressman Schock, this is all political is because I have spies. This may shock them. You know, you had Pfeiffer and Plouffe preparing every Democrat in the country for the days leading into this speech. And it was pretty much all the same message. They were briefing donors on the night of the speech in Chicago in an effort to help support the president here. But it's clearly political because they're going out there and their claim is, well, Michelle Bachmann once proposed this and this Republican once proposed that. But he really hasn't laid out a specific plan that we could really say, okay, this is going to work. And do we risk his one thing? He supports tax cuts, you know, payroll tax, et cetera. That's fine. But it really hasn't worked up to this point. And it's been implemented now both in the Bush administration and the Obama administration.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. No, it is failed policy. I mean, the definition of insanity that we all know is doing the same thing and expecting different results. Let's just take his favorite piece of the pie, which is infrastructure investment. How much have we heard about how he wants to spend on infrastructure? We heard that when he first became president, $1 trillion stimulus bill, and this is going to be the largest infrastructure investment since Eisenhower was president. Sean, you and I both know less than 8%, $50 billion of that went to infrastructure and did nothing to regentrify our economy. Now he wants to spend another $50 billion, one-time shot in the arm. What we need for infrastructure, if he's serious about making America competitive with infrastructure investment, we need a 6-year bill like Ronald Reagan did, like Bill Clinton did, like George W. Bush did, that was paid for. And that's what the president has failed to do. Not only offer a vision, but more importantly, a plan to get us to where he wants to go and we want to go, which is lower unemployment and more people working.
All right, guys, good to see you both. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean.
Good to be with you.
And coming up next, Frank Luntz here with reaction to this week's GOP presidential debate. We have a special focus group in Atlanta. Also, he's a legend on the football field, a one-on-one.